Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Scribe Plays Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. Last time we were set onto a cloak and dagger mission to go to an Italian restaurant and ask for a bottle of wine. I'm very hopeful we're going to be meeting the Giovanni in some way, shape, or form this time. They are probably my favorite clan out of the entire setting, but let's find out. He shuffles away and leaves you to pursue the lead from the letter. Time to pay a visit to Nolita. You arrive at the address mentioned in the note. Not counting local restaurant patrons, the street is mostly empty at this time of night, but curiously, the wine shop is still open. Inside, a small, middle-aged woman with curly hair stands behind the counter in front of a wall filled with wine bottles. There's a door at the back of the room with a small table and chair, occupied by a man in a black faux leather jacket with slick, comb-backed hair. He's reading a newspaper, but pauses as a little bell rings when you open the door. He takes a sip from a small, steaming cup, then gets back to his broadsheet. Good evening. How can I help you? Oh, chat her up. Why not? I'll be sociable. Wow, you've got such a big selection of wine. Say, you wouldn't have a bottle of the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Amaro, would you? She gives you a curious look. Let me check. She seems to be looking through a database on the laptop sitting on the counter. She puts on a polite smile. I'm afraid we don't have that one at the moment. Sorry. Let's see. Casually recite the phrase. Casually, yes. I'm sure you'll find a bottle for a Fedele Servitore della Familia, G, right? She raises an eyebrow. Let me see if we have any in the back. The woman leaves the counter and goes through the doors in the back. The man by the table puts down his newspaper and takes another sip from the cup, washing it down with a gulp of water from a nearby glass. He tries to hide it, but there's no doubt he's watching you. About a minute passes. Remain silent and wait. You remind yourself of what Kaiser wrote in the letter and keep quiet, patiently waiting for the woman to return from the back of the store. The man finishes his drink and starts doodling on the newspaper, his eyes darting to you every so often. The doors to the back of the store open and the proprietor emerges with a small, unlabeled, squat bottle of crimson liquid. She gives you an apologetic smile. Scusi, sorry for taking so long. Turns out we did have it. She offers you the bottle and you reach out to grab it, but she retracts it. You do know what this is, don't you? I'm not going to use disciplines on her, no. Why, it's wine, of course. Well, this is a wine shop, so it's wine, surely. Something about the face she makes gives you the impression you blew it. Why, I should have used disciplines on her? Okay. The woman looks over to the guy at the table and he stands up. You decide there won't be a better time and snatch the bottle from her hands. What? What? Okay. The man draws a gun from a side holster, and as you make a run for it, several more gunmen pour from the back door. Shots ring out, piercing your undead flesh, but you're fast, and most miss their mark. By the time you make it out onto the street and lose their pursuit, you see you have a few new bullet holes to patch up. The bottle is, thankfully, intact. Okay. You make your way back to the car cautiously and drive back to your apartment. It takes you some time to find a parking spot, but you finally get out of the car and start looking for Jacky. He's not far from where you parted ways just under 2 hours ago. Got the goods? I do, but it was a hassle. Oh, boo-hoo, stick around. I gotta make the call. He takes a few more steps into a narrow space between two buildings and takes out the same high-tech phone you saw him carrying last time. Hey, boss. Yeah, they have it. Where do I point them to? Okay, yeah. I'll tell him to go there right away. He puts the phone back in his pocket and turns back to you. Willets Point, half an hour, so you better step on it. See you around. With only a flippant salute, Jacky starts walking down the street. You make your way back to the car and drive. You had to push the speed limit to make it on time, but you're here. Willets Point is quite a change of scenery. The place is a post-industrial dump, the nearby stadium notwithstanding. You stop your car once you realize that if you go any further, the potholes will kill your chassis. You step out into one of those gashes in the asphalt, splashing in the ankle-deep water. Kaiser's limo is nowhere to be seen. In fact, the whole place is pretty much deserted, other than the apparent proprietor of a lonely bar, a middle-aged woman who's just locking the place up. Feeding opportunity bar owner. Sure, I'll get a little adventure here. This is too perfect an opportunity to not take advantage of. She's walking to her car, ready to call it a night, when you sneak up on her. She's far too tired to resist your strong hold and swift bite. You can taste the caffeine in her veins, smell the cheap cigarettes in her hair, the old cooking grease in her clothes. She passes out, you assault the closing note of a long day at work. You let her down gently and feel a pang of remorse. You pick up the car keys she dropped and place her in the driver's seat. She'll find an explanation for passing out like this, for sure. The bright lights of a car pulling over down the road, illuminate you as you close the door. It's the black limo. Kaiser is finally here, it would seem. Same as last time, the car doors open, but nobody comes out. You know the drill. This time, Kaiser is visible when you look inside. You sit down and close the door behind you. And this would be the first time that, by any indication, I actually got into his limo. Because last time, I just teleported in there or whatever. Anyway. Heard there was a shootout at Mulberry. I told you to stick to the fucking script, didn't I? You have the bottle? Give it here. You hand the bottle over to the Nosferatu. He uncorks it gently, takes a whiff, and puts the cork back in. Yeah, that's the stuff. Good job, kid. Consider your debt paid. Oh yeah, and also, take this. It's what Langley wanted. He passes you an envelope with what feels like a thick card inside. He likes manners, so thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kaiser. Yeah, I'll send Jacky over if I ever need anything else from you. How about that? Time for you to get out now. He waves you out of the car. With the envelope in hand, you get out, back into the torn asphalt and decrepit surroundings. The limo slowly drives away. Finally, you can return to Sophie and bring her what she wanted. Gregory lets you in. You hear a shrill, unpleasant laugh, and you realize Sophie's having a guest over. Thomas Arturo. You met in Elysium a few nights back. That shriek is unmistakable. Ah, Scribe, so glad to see you. Tell me, did you two have a chance to talk previously? Thomas speaks up before you can. Why, yes, of course. And such a good first impression you made, too. Miss Langley clearly did the right thing by taking you under her wing. I'm sure she thinks so, too. Don't you, Sophie? Why, of course, Of course you do, of course. Well, I believe I must be going. I'll be sure to let Prince Panhard know your thoughts, Miss Langley. Word for word, or as close as I can remember them. I appreciate it, Thomas. You two enjoy your night now. Good night, Sophie. Scribe. Greggy boy. He gives you a sly smile. Sophie's driver opens the door for Arturo, and the guest steps out with a single wave of the hand towards his host and you. The doors close. What's his deal? So what's his deal? Same as everyone's. Position, power, influence. Thomas has clout in court and access to many juicy details on everyone from the prince to the lowliest primogen. It's useful to have him on your side, even if his eccentricity requires some patience. So is Thomas a harpy or the harpy? Speaking of patience, you have been putting mine to the test lately. Did you manage to contact Kaiser and acquire what I asked for? Yeah, let's see. Do I tell her about the Giovanni thing? Yeah. Yes, I have it, but the data you offered was old news to him. I had to do another job for him before he would give me this card. She retrieves the envelope from you. I'm sure he did. I do hope it wasn't too much of an inconvenience. I'll tell her everything that I know. Like I said, the way I'm thinking about this is that the character is the social climber. He has to impress this lady because she holds his life in her hands. So keeping information from her does not seem like the wisest course of action. He made me go on an entirely separate escapade to retrieve a bottle of wine from a store in Nolita. I had to use code phrases and whatnot. Wine shop? Code phrases? That degenerate pest. She's visibly agitated, but calms down and smiles at you. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure whatever Kaiser had you do, it'll blow over. She opens the envelope and looks at the card. You notice the same lettering you saw on Kaiser's note from before, but can't see the details. Her eyes widen. Yes, excellent. I need to call in some favors. I will likely be busy for the next few nights. You have my permission to show some initiative, my dear charge. I will contact you soon. With that, Sophie ushers you outside, and you are left to do with the rest of the night's hours as you like. Okay, so, do we check out the somebody's watching me thing? Do we go with the Cathedral? Do we loop back around to... let's check in with D'Angelo, the Nosferatu. Let's see if his investigation needs more help. You make your way through the now familiar rusty maze of the grain terminal and up the stairs to D'Angelo's office. This time, however, you find the room firmly locked. There's a note pinned to the door. You rip it off and scan the crooked lettering. There's been another one. At the scene now. Come to Bed-Stuy, corner of Pulaski and Garvey. ASAP. Looks like D'Angelo could use your help. Better get going. As you approach the address D'Angelo gave you, a squad car passes you by, sirens blaring. Following it, you make a turn from DeKalb Avenue onto Pulaski Street. Sure enough, the street is awash with red light, and the 4 or so police cars parked on the nearest corner next to an ambulance confirm that you're in the right place. You move closer to what appears to be a New York's finest convention, looking around in hopes of spotting a familiar, if not altogether pleasant face. No such luck. True to his Nosferatu lineage, D'Angelo is nowhere to be seen. You stop on the sidewalk across the street, trying not to draw attention to yourself. All of a sudden, one of the cops standing by the entrance to the building looks straight at you. He does a double take, and you instinctively look away. Bad move, you think to yourself, as you notice him making his way toward you. I will not make myself suspicious. I will wait, and if I need to, hopefully I have the option to use presence on him. Not allowing panic to set in, you stand your ground, doing your best ordinary citizen impression. The cop waddles across the street towards you, his sense of authority putting that extra spring in his step. You try to remain calm, even as he puts his hand on his holster. Shit, you can't help but mouth the word. This is about to get messy. Suddenly he stops, as if instinctively realizing that he was just inches away from a grisly demise. He waves at you dismissively and yells in a thick Brooklyn accent. Hey, this here's an active crime scene. Be on your way. I don't know what a Brooklyn accent sounds like, so I'm going to do my best. Relieved, but trying not to show it, you put on your grumpy New Yorker face and start to walk away. As you make your way past a dark alleyway, someone grabs you by the arm and pulls you into the shadows. If the smell of cigars and cheap cologne don't give him away, the gravelly voice sure does. Nice save. I mean, dumb to show your face around here in the first place, but still. Come on, I'm parked around the corner. Before you know it, you're sitting in the passenger seat of a busted old sedan parked half a block away, giving you a nice view of the police gathering. Feeding opportunity, we can take them? No. No. Let me talk to them, I'll get us in. Yeah. Why don't I talk to them? I might convince them to let us in. He gives you a look as if you just let rip a massive fart. Right. Look, kid, it's not that I don't trust you, but how about we give that raw animal magnetism of yours a dry run, huh? What? Pretend I'm one of the cops guarding the entrance. Convince me to let you in. What? That's the narrator speaking. Is that... Pretend... What? Okay, I'm confused. I'll pose as a detective. I'll pose as a tenant. I'll just use my powers. This seems like an instance where presence would be a good idea. Evening, officer. Okay, so... I'm confused. I offered to do the thing I'm now doing, and he told me not so fast, but now I'm... Okay. Evening, officers. You might not have noticed, but I am in fact a vampire, and I have just used my unholy powers of persuasion on your feeble minds. What? Now, why don't you piggies go grab yourself a donut and fuck off for a while? Okay, thanks, bye. What? Okay, the flow of this narrative is confusing. Well, okay then, I guess that might work. This is bizarre. See, nothing to it. Fair enough. Go get him, Tiger. I'll stay close by, just in case things go south. Okay. You get out of the car, slamming the door a bit too loudly for your own good. As you cross the street, you already feel like you've made a big mistake. Oh well, too late to turn back now. Might as well give it your best shot. As you approach the cops, your whole body tenses up. It's funny that this would make you nervous, considering all you've seen these past few nights, and yet it does. The two officers seem to be engaged in a heated debate regarding last night's Mets game. You stop just a few steps away and open your mouth. Whatever's about to come out, it better be good. Well, presents, because that was the whole point. And then, just as you're about to weasel your way into their unsuspecting minds, you freeze. One of the cops notices you and gives you a slight nod. Hey, yeah, if you're going in, make sure you stay away from 209. Active crime scene, you know. And with that, they get back to arguing whether or not the umpire was bought and paid for or not. Utterly confused, you piece together what's left of your senses and hurry past them. So, did I use my powers or didn't I? Inside the building, D'Angelo stands in the hallway, dumbfounded. As you open your mouth, he stops you with a gesture. Don't even talk to me right now. In awkward silence, you both make your way up to the second floor. I am bewildered as to what just happened. Finding the crime scene proves easy enough. You just follow the yellow police tape, and before you know it, you're standing in the middle of what used to be someone's living room. The place has been completely trashed, knocked over furniture, shattered glass, the works. Looking around, you notice a sign scribbled on a nearby wall. It reads, "His gift, our fate." Uh-huh. You're no expert in typography, but the crooked letters look similar to the ones you saw back in Red Hook. Sure enough, there's very little in terms of blood, save for the occasional stain that's bound to end up on the carpet once you toss someone through a glass coffee table. D'Angelo leans against the doorway. He seems lost in his thoughts, sucking on his cigar compulsively and mumbling to himself. You lean over a bit, trying not to make it obvious that you're listening in. You manage to catch the last few lines of his monologue. The night's been kind to them so far, but the questions kept piling on, and now they found themselves amidst the wreckage of another life. It was up to them to sift through the debris and come up with a neat little pile of answers. Suddenly, he tenses up, as if sensing your eyes upon him. Feel free to chip in, kid. Anything catch your eye? Another piece of graffiti. His gift, our fate. Yeah, there's that. What do you think it means? It's about Cain. His gift. Isn't there a theory that Cain was the first vampire? Oh, it's more than a theory. To some, it's a deeply held belief. And yeah, you're right. It's about the gift of Cain, as in vampirism. Our fate. Clearly, someone who wasn't happy to receive it. God damn it, I hate where this is going. You already knew where it was going. Why? It looks like you were right. Why? The thin blood angle seems to check out. It looks like you were right. Yeah, well, this time I'd rather be wrong, all right? Anyway, looks like we're not getting any more out of this place. No way around it. We gotta see the body. Is that really necessary? Well, are you protecting thin bloods? Sure, might as well be prudent, yeah. In for a penny, in for a pound. Might as well be prudent. My thoughts exactly. The Duskborn have it as bad as it is. If I'm gonna accuse one of them of breaching the Masquerade, I want solid evidence. And I mean rock fucking solid. Luckily for us, I might know someone who could get us an audience with our dearly departed friend. To your surprise, he pulls out a cell phone, a busted old clamshell. He opens it, he flips it open, and spends a good minute browsing through the contacts, muttering to himself. Finally, he makes a call. Hey, you know who this is? Yeah, that favor you owe me? Time to deliver. Listen, I know you got a fresh one, the murder in Bed-Stuy. I need to take a look. Yes, now. Yeah, you'd better. With that, he hangs up and gives you his trademark wry smile. Aren't cell phones forbidden? No, we've already seen people using cell phones. No. So, are we good? Yeah, we're good. Next stop, Kings County. Kings County, the bleeding heart of Brooklyn. It's beating as hard as ever, with ambulance after ambulance bringing in sick and wounded New Yorkers to be pumped through the tight arteries of the healthcare system. Ooh, nice. It's a dangerous place for a kindred to show their face, incessantly crowded and full of people who specialize in noticing all sorts of physical afflictions, especially the sort that make up the very essence of a vampire's existence. For instance, death. Yes, but you're moving, so... Thankfully, your business here tonight keeps you away from the hectic human hive of the ER. Instead, you follow D'Angelo to a relatively quiet part of the underground parking lot that's closest to your current point of interest, the Kings County morgue. Having found yourself a convenient and suitably unlit spot near the hospital wall, you wait patiently for D'Angelo's contact to appear. Every now and then, you glance over at the undead gumshoe, as if to make sure his moldy mug isn't showing any signs of worry. Or it isn't, or at least he's very good at hiding it. Okay. Finally, after 30 minutes or so, a lone figure emerges from a side entrance. As the human-shaped shadow walks by, you're quick to recognize him as the EMT you saw back at the murder site. I saw an EMT at the murder site? Okay. Clearly nervous, the 20-something-year-old redhead can't seem to help but look back and make sure no one is following him. Finally, he stops and lights up a cigarette, without even looking in your direction. He takes a puff and exclaims, seemingly to no one in particular, "Room 112, you got 20 minutes. D'Angelo speaks without looking at you. That's our cue. You follow the fanged detective through the same door the EMT walked out of. Luckily, this wing of the hospital seems unusually empty. Still, the confidence with which D'Angelo makes his way through the white and green corridors makes it clear he's been here before. Finally, he stops in front of one of the doors. Room 112. That's your stop. The room is small, with only one oversized freezer by the wall and a single slab mounted in its center. Sure enough, the body of a middle-aged man is splayed out on its steel surface. Even for a dead man, he seems unnaturally pale. Extreme blood loss will do that to you. Try as you might, you can't help but look at the man's face, his features twisted in abject horror. This was not a peaceful death. Looking closely, you notice 2 small puncture wounds on the victim's neck. If ever there was a clearer sign of a vampire attack, you've yet to see it. Looking over to D'Angelo, you notice his lips moving in a familiar fashion. He's narrating again. Before he can utter an intelligible word, you cut in with a remark. Look at his face. Jesus, the look on his face. It's like nightmare fuel. No kidding, which means he was fully aware all the way through. He knew he was dying. Which, combined with the blood loss and the teeth marks on his neck, confirms our hypothesis. We have a serial thin blood on our hands. Conceivably. Fuck. As if on cue, the door swings open. A tired-looking man with a stethoscope around his neck walks in. With his eyes fixed on his clipboard, he doesn't appear to notice you. Yet. I don't need to feed. I will hide behind the freezer. Or lie my way out of it. I'll hide behind the freezer. Quickly, quietly, you hop behind the oversized freezer, hoping D'Angelo will follow suit. Pressed against the wall, you tense up, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. The room, however, remains silent. You peer out from behind the freezer to assess the situation. The doctor calmly looks over the victim, jots something down on his clipboard, and walks out. If you could breathe a sigh of relief, you would. So hard. D'Angelo materializes from the shadows lingering against the wall across from you. He gives you a slight nod. Nice save, kid. My first instinct was to jump him, but hey, whatever works. Now come on, let's get out of here. Time to pay our dear Primogen another visit. Robert Larson's home looks about the same as last time. No added security, no angry dogs prowling the yard. It appears that the thin-blood Primogen would rather risk another visit from his old pal D'Angelo than to arouse suspicion of his family and neighbors. which is good, considering that's what he's about to get. Sure enough, the light in Larson's study is on, and you even catch a glimpse of the man himself shuffling around the room. You look over to D'Angelo, wondering how you're going to get Larson's attention this time. Without a single word, D'Angelo walks over to a nearby street lamp and leans against it, making sure he's visible to any and all who happen to look. Looks like time for subtlety is over. It only takes a couple of minutes for Larson to take notice. You see him lean against the window and storm out of the room. In mere seconds, he's out in front and in D'Angelo's face. Listen to me, you moldy fuck. I've had just about enough of your shit. You want to pester me? Fine, but leave my family out of it. For a moment, D'Angelo just stands there, motionless, allowing Larson to get his frustrations out. Suddenly, he grabs the thin blood by the collar, lifts him off the ground, and smashes his back against the lamppost. Are you finished? All right, now you listen to me and listen good. You think I'm enjoying this? You think I like to be jerked around? You think I got nothing better to do than hang around this little puppet theater you've made for yourself? Now, either you give me a lead I can follow, or I start remembering things you'd rather forget. For the first time since you met him, Larson looks speechless, his eyes wide with fear. He can only mutter under his breath. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Cue awkward silence. You stand there, shifting your eyes from one vampire to the other. Guess it's time to either press the advantage or play the good cop. I'm gonna play good cop. Take it easy, D'Angelo. Let's not make a scene. Why not? I like making a scene. It's not like we're getting shit done. Might as well make a show of it. If you want my help, put me the fuck down. With his feet back on the ground, Larson straightens his collar in a faint attempt at preserving some shred of dignity. There's a place in Manhattan, Lower East Side, one of the few places in the city where my people can find shelter. Yeah, I know of it. If you go there right now, you might find what you're looking for. D'Angelo stares at him for a moment, just long enough to make it uncomfortable. We'd better. Finally, D'Angelo loosens his grip. You both watch Larson limp back to his house, looking back over his shoulder like he's going to tell the teacher on you. Well, if D'Angelo knew of a Thin Blood hangout already, why go back to Larson? Okay. You look to your partner, meaning to ask what that whole things you'd rather forget deal was. As if sensing your curiosity, D'Angelo cuts in with a preemptive mutter. Come on, we got what we came for. As you reach the address Larson gave you, you find yourselves standing in front of what looks like an old garage. On the outside, the place looks as uninteresting as it gets. You'd think it's abandoned, if not for the few barely working lights illuminating its shabby facade. Once you're inside, however, if ever there was a place worthy of being called a wretched hive of scum and villainy, this is probably it. The room is littered with drunks and crackheads, human and thin blood alike, their minds lost in their cruel little worlds, their bodies splayed out across the floor. How do you know they're thin bloods? They're the most difficult to detect vampires, but okay. D'Angelo leans over and whispers in your ear. I'll cover the back door. You stay near the front. Let's look around and see what we can find. Before you can ask what exactly you're supposed to be looking for, D'Angelo disappears into the shadows. I'm going to use Auspex, because this would be the time for it. And it apparently doesn't cost blood or discipline. I'm glad Auspex shouldn't. Focusing your senses, you plunge into the full spectrum of the room, hoping to hear someone or something worthy of your attention. You regret it almost instantly. The room becomes a deafening echo chamber, a sea of babbling lunatics, of muttered curses and drug-induced ramblings. You're almost ready to give up when a faint whisper catches your attention. A female voice, soft, trembling. The gift. He speaks to us. The blood speaks. A few words are enough to tell you you've just hit the jackpot. You follow the voice to its source, a young woman hunched in the corner of the room. As you walk towards her, D'Angelo emerges from the shadows right next to you. Nice catch. He kneels down beside her. You can tell he's trying to sound as comforting as possible, but with his gravelly timbre, it's not really working out. Hey, it's okay. We're not here to hurt you. We just want to talk. No, don't talk too loud. Too loud. She seems halfway out of it. It's like the lights are on, but whoever's inside is stumbling around after one hell of a bender. All right. You like quiet? Got it. Can you tell me your name? Sana. That's what he called me. Suddenly you hear the door swing open behind you. Even though the night is fairly warm, a cold chill runs down your spine. Interesting. You look towards the entrance. There's a woman standing there, and something about her just screams kindred. Even though she seems comically overdressed for the situation, somehow you don't feel like cracking a smile. Whoever she is, you can tell she means business. She starts making her way to the back of the room, not making any effort to sidestep any of the junkies and drunks. They all know well enough to get out of her way. Acting out of bravery or sheer stupidity, you walk up to her. She looks at you as if you were something she just scraped off her shoe. You smile nervously, without even knowing it. Hey, what's a girl like you doing in a place like this? Sure. As soon as you open your mouth, her hand shoots out, grabbing you by the throat. The woman looks at you, tilting her head as if examining a curious species of insect. Suddenly, her eyes shift as she notices something behind you. Her face turns from disgusted curiosity to sheer annoyance. You! Hey, Val, that's my assistant you got there. Do you mind? She rolls her eyes. You feel the grip on your neck loosen and you awkwardly fall to your feet. She makes her way towards D'Angelo, pushing you aside like a rag doll. Where is she? You're gonna have to be a bit more specific, darling. Don't play coy, Ginny. The manslayer. I know she's here. A blood hunt has begun. By order of the prince herself, the girl is to meet her final death. Okay, so the serial killer Thin Blood that D'Angelo's had tracked down, this lady already knows where to find her and her name? Or is Ginny nickname for D'Angelo? Okay, probably. Hold your horses, honey. I'm conducting an investigation under the auspices of the sheriff. That counts for something, too. Yeah, but if the prince called the blood hunt... Look, sweetie, I'm not here for some clit measuring contest. You want this to get ugly? Be my guest. Otherwise, I suggest you step aside and let me do my job. By all means. He steps aside in a comically exaggerated fashion. You look at the corner where you last saw Sana, but you find no trace of the girl. Well, I'll be. I could swear she was just here. Valerie looks at D'Angelo. She smiles softly, but you can tell she's trying very hard not to rip his head off. You'll regret this. Story of my life. Without another word, she turns on her heel and storms out. D'Angelo waves his hand in your general direction. Come on, kid. Let's get out of this shithole. As you emerge from said shithole, you feel the cool night breeze caress your face. It's soothing and almost makes you forget how shitty the last few hours have been. Almost. Okay, kid. I know you got questions, but it's getting early and I don't feel like having a Q&A session right now. For now, you get one question. Make it count. Do you know where the girl went? It's still hard to believe that girl is our killer. Do you know where she ran off to? Not sure, but I might have some ideas. The important thing is, we know who we're looking for. Too bad Valerie knows it too. She's a scourge, kid. Part enforcer, part assassin. All around pain in the ass. We'll be seeing more of her, you can bet on that. And before you ask, yes, we've run into each other in the past. No, I don't feel like talking about it. All right, kid, I don't know about you, but I'm turning in. I'll figure some stuff out and keep looking for our girl. Feel free to swing by the office in a night or two. And with that, he stumbles off into the distance, not even bothering to keep to the shadows. Can't say you blame him. It really has been a rough night. And with that, I will call this episode to a close. A scourge. Yeah, you can have more than one scourge in the city, I suppose. But if it's the blood hunt, usually the blood hunt means every kindred in the city is now granted the right of destruction if they find the target of the blood hunt. And how Valerie found her so quickly when we've been tracking her, don't know. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe it's a writing of convenience. Who knows? Either way, if you like this kind of content, please let me know in the comments below and leave a like if you would. And, as always, thank you for watching.